haven't had a scab since I was like, I feel like 6 years old. And you want to know the worst part about it is that I did it because I was doing like an ab workout and like you have to like plank for most of it. And I like did it on carpet. And so that's how I got this scab. So moral of the story is don't do abs.
No working out?
Yeah, working out
Perfect segue.
Working out is dangerous.
There we go. Oh, I got, what's the meme? Hold on. This is perfectly good for the pod.
I hope producer Matt leaves this in. What are you doing? What is that?
Get my headphones in.
What is
that?
So
my mic, you know the guy of the dad holding up the shirt of he has the shirt on and somebody gave him the new shirt. So here's my mic. It's a Rode mic.
Okay.
And then look at the brand new mic I got. It's the same goddamn mic.
Wow.
Very happy. So I love that meme of the dad holding up the shirts. That is me with my mics. You have a specific mic that you love and you're staying true to it. So there we go. We are gearing up for the football season. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. I was going to say much like beers, but I feel like beers you need to rotate. It's a season thing.
I'm staying true to my word. After failing horribly the first week I said I was going to do interesting beers, I gave you a sneak peek before we started talking. Like, yes, this beer is interesting.
Okay, speaking of just us doing things that are so on brand, we forgot last week to give the Pac-12 an alcohol. I know that's not where we were going to start before, but...
hold on. By the way, time out. I just realized my mic is not... I've got the wrong fucking mic applied. I'm telling you.
Wait, what do you mean you have the wrong mic applied? I can hear you.
I know, but it's on my Mac and not my fucking...
Can you just plug it in?
It won't let me. We have to restart the recording. Because it's going to sound like shit.
We're keeping that intro, and then we'll just cut it here and move to the next.
Fine. God damn it. I'm telling you, this computer is cursed. Yeah.
Behind the curtain. We're back from behind the curtain. And
all right.
We are.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. If I look in this mic. No, it's set up now. It looks good.
Okay, everything looks good on your
Everything
end?
looks great.
You would think we've never recorded a podcast before, but...
I am a little flustered. Like, each week we take our temperature of like excitement and nervousness for the season. I'd say I'm now fluttering toward anxiousness of... Okay. I get like FOMO before it like starts. Like I get like we're writing a lot. There's like content coming out. Like it's getting real, but now I'm not hovering. I'm very excited. Yeah. But now I'm also kind of like, oh my God, like the season is like, we're 2 weeks away from week 0. Like what? How did that happen?
I have no idea.
Where did it go?
I have no idea where the off season went, but before we had technical difficulties, well, not we, I should say individuals on this podcast, not named Paige, had technical difficulties. We did forget to give the Pac-12 an alcohol. So you said, actually we both agreed that the ACC was the White Claw. Okay.
Yeah.
Pac-12, do you have an alcohol for them?
Yes. Pac-12 hasn't made a lot of playoffs lately. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with a $7.99 bottle of white wine, which for me, other than straight moonshine to my soul, I can't think of a way to give me a quicker hangover than a $7.99 bottle of white wine. Here's the thing.
Like a Barefoot.
Like a Barefoot. Sponsor the pod. Okay. I'll drink it. Like I said, we're very easy here. I'll drink that hangover if you pay me to. So here's why. Because yes, USC is kind of exciting, but they're leaving the conference.
Yeah.
This is bad, okay? And if you're in the Pac-12, you're essentially living a hangover of, are you going to exist? What is it going to look like? I don't want to like beat the dead horse, which is why I feel bad, but it has to be something like that produces negative results in the end, because this has been a lot of negative results. So for me, that is white wine.
Okay, so for me, it's just all wine. Wine was going to be mine anyway, because I feel like for Pac-12 After Dark, you get a little weird. I feel like wine is like an end of the night thing where you are like, oh, I've had hard alcohol a day. Maybe I'll just switch to wine. And then when I drink wine, I have the weirdest dreams. I do not sleep well. And I'm restless. And I feel like that is how you just feel being a Pac-12 fan in general. So I'm going with just wine. I would say a red wine. Like end of the night red wine is what the Pac-12 is to me.
Are you team red or team white, or are like diverse in your wine choosings?
I'm diverse, but if I like have the choice, I'll go with red.
Me too. Well, obviously I just said it takes a lot to get me hungover. I'm built to drink a lot of alcohol, but white wine is like my kryptonite. It really is. If it was champagne too. Oh. Champagne, a couple glasses of champagne, and I go like it is not good. I don't know what happens there.
I love champagne, full disclosure, but I get if I drink it during the day, I get like a hangover before I'm even like ready for bed. Like I have to like keep drinking it.
It's not good.
And fall asleep immediately, or I'm gonna be hungover before, even if it's good champagne. Actually, that's not true. If it's cheap stuff, usually that's the case. If it's good, I can usually make it work. But yeah, during the summer, I'll drink like whites and rosés and things like that because I'm a big wine person. But I usually will stick to reds if like I had a choice.
On the topic of alcohol, we actually have a lot. So we're previewing the Big 12, which I'm actually kind of excited about because I think it's a conference I feel like I know maybe the least about in a weird way.
Yeah.
But alcohol, Mississippi State is doing something that I absolutely love. I think it might be a terrible idea, but they're essentially building a section in their stadium that will allow fans to bring their own fridges into games. You can bring your own beers. You can bring your own fridges. You can bring lawn chairs. You essentially are creating a tailgate
inside.
What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I have two thoughts. I have the college football loving, day drinking loving Paige, who very much supports this and thinks this is excellent. Then there's also the Paige of like this, the responsible one, which does come up very often. This could get ugly quickly.
Watching me throw a fridge at an official is what you're getting at?
Yeah, that or just like the alcohol consumption leading to more fights than normal because there's no cutoff. It could be a little too much. I think we have enough issues with that kind of stuff at NFL games that I don't know that college football wants to bring that into the mix.
So, thought about throwing a fridge onto a field and just the general, like that would be an amazing visual and a terrifying visual all at once, right? If it's not real, there are no consequences. I'd love to see it, but there would be. So I imagine these are not going to be cheap. That's the one thing that I'm sure it's going to be. I just think it's.
But even the people that can afford to buy those things,
that's actually fair.
It can get a little out of control.
Who in the Tennessee Stadium last year was throwing?
Right. That's my point. When I was like, all I could think about was like Lane Kiffin, and I was like, the safety of Lane Kiffin is my concern here.
I love. So the home experience is so goddamn good now, right? Like I have 3 TVs in my basement, and iPads, and I have a fridge a few feet from me. And I can watch, and it's really hard to get me out of my chair because I'm not necessarily tied to a specific team or geographically. Like the sport is becoming less geographically centric, even though everybody loves their team. They also love all the other teams. So getting me out of my house to watch a football game that I'm not working is harder these days. And
this section would do it.
It's kind of trying. At least they're trying something different. It's a cool marketing idea. How effective will it be? I don't know. But if you tell me, hey, buddy, you can bring your little mini fridge in and you can stack that thing up with all the delicious beers you want. Like, I at least like it conceptually. However, there are some, there's some fine print here, like in terms of accepting this that you would love to know, because if you give me a fridge full of beer, Paige, at this football game and you give me 3+ hours to drink it, I'm going to drink that fridge full of beer. Like,
I kind of think we need like a Kramer live stream. And get like a sponsored
the basement live stream?
Yeah.
Oh,
and just
yes.
Have you drinking that?
Well, you know what's funny though? Like I think I've talked about this before. Like people that I cover college football, right? So I have friends, I have neighbors who've been like, want to see what your day is like. It is very unimpressive and pretty depressing. It's me just like, and then G-chatting you or so. Like, it's like, hey, we should cover this story. I remember like it's not now when there's alcohol involved and you're watching and you're not working, and then it's fun. You're gambling, you're all that stuff.
Yes.
But it is hilarious. Otherwise it might be depressing. Now, you put me in one of these seats. I would love to do this. Okay. I would love to be a guinea pig to beta test this arrangement of fridges in football teams. It also sounds like a lot of work. Like you're going to carry the fridge from your car. Like, you know, also, like, does someone do that for you? It's tough.
Yeah, that seems like a lot. To your point, though, like our Saturdays are not as glamorous as they may appear. It's very much like sitting on the couch for 14 hours working, and like the drinking part doesn't happen until way later. Yep, you gotta be done with your job
most of the time.
Right. We can't confirm or deny anything on this podcast, but to that point though, college football is moving towards more of a at-home viewing sort of situation, and I am thoroughly impressed with how the Big Ten has decided to capitalize on that.
Yep.
We briefly talked about this, and I said I thought the comments of the commissioner were so interesting when he said it's not going to be your usual media deal. And my immediate thought process was, okay, if they expect to get this much money, they're not getting it from one source. And sure enough, we now know that they are working to close the deal. It might be closed by the time this comes out with NBC, Fox, and why am I blanking on the other one? CBS, thank you.
Yep.
Who lost their SEC rights. And I just thought that was so incredibly smart. It's basically the Big Ten saying, we're not going to compete with the SEC in getting one person to pay for our rights. We can compete with the price tag if we split it up and have a few resources. And it's incredibly smart. And I think it also is going to be really helpful for the SEC because it's going to drive the SEC price up for ESPN. So not to say that they can't afford it, because they'll pay for it, but the price tag on the SEC is going to be, the bill is going to be a lot higher for ESPN than it is for these other big news networks and things like that. And now they're going to have access to special games and things like that, adding USC and UCLA in.
Yeah, for sure.
There's going to be a lot of good that comes from like splitting the pie with a few different sources. I know the NBC thing also leads people to believe that, you know, that means that Notre Dame is going to come over. There's a lot of implications here, but I thought in terms of business and strategy, that was really impressive by the Big Ten. I was thoroughly impressed with how that all sort of went down.
Yeah, a couple things. So, you know, the Big Ten, even when it was like an easy target under Jim Delaney, has always been very financially like ahead of itself, and it really has done a great job. So the first thing that stands out is they're saying that the three contracts are going to be like $1 billion annually, which is crazy. I think the SEC was 700 million ish.
Yeah.
I do think it's really the part there's two elements to this that are really interesting. First, not being on ESPN. It's a little weird. ESPN owns the playoff, right? So
ESPN owns college football for all intents and purposes.
And make no mistake about it, this feels like a direct response to all of the stuff that has come on, that the Big Ten's trying to really shake this thing up, which is cool. But I think there's some risk for the Big Ten not being on ESPN too. Game day is not going to be more likely to go to college campuses. Let's be honest. I know a lot of game day guys who I've talked to them, like they say, it's not necessarily true. No, but if you're programming this, you're going to go to games that are on your networks. So I do think there's some risk in being away from ESPN only because ESPN has just a stranglehold on this. That being said, I love conceptually the idea of like morning Fox, afternoon CBS, NBC at night.
Yep.
It's sort of the NFLization of college football, which is normally you'd say, ew, don't do that. This is cool. You have a script. You're following along as a Big Ten fan all day of where you need to tune into the biggest game. So, look, I'm going to watch it whatever it's on. Like, I don't really care. But I think what they're doing is smart, and it's going to allow these teams to spend more money on their players, on their everything else. Like, yeah, the Big Ten has done a really good job
Mm-hmm.
of this. And the risk of losing ESPN, I don't know. I don't know how much of a risk that is. If you win games, you're still going to be in the playoff. That part doesn't change. But it is notable not being ABC, not having any of those ties. I think it's such a change from our viewing experience too, right? Like it's just something we're going to CBS, ESPN, or CBS and Big Ten just sounds freaking weird. I saw the SEC theme with Big Ten highlights on Twitter. I was like, what in the hell is this? So it's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, but I think to your point, like when you think about watching the NFL and you know what channel each thing is on, you know the theme song, you know the people that have been there and things like that. I think ESPN has really run the show for a while. And I mean, to be honest with you, like I tune into Big Noon Kickoff a lot more than I do Game Day. I really enjoy that panel that they have over there. And so I'm excited to sort of see what Game Day-esque programming we get with this kind of stuff. And the variety is going to be there. And I think that's partially why it's such a positive thing, is because you are going to get different types of consuming this product, in the sense that like there are people that just want the straightforward use of this stuff, and you know, you get the color commentators and it's the same people and you really like that old school version. There's a new school version that loves the Twitter conversation and includes that in theirs. There's the betting conversation that you have to bring into this. It's kind of like if you look at what ESPN has even done with their own product of like Monday Night Football and having a Manning cast. It's exciting because I think we were so nervous about like, oh, now that the sport's changed and now that there's going to be super conferences, there was just this discussion of like, it's becoming the NFL and it's not going to be as true to what it is. I think there's still going to be that pageantry with college football.
Oh, for sure.
On a media level that we don't get for NFL, but it's going to be really exciting in the college football landscape. And so I was kind of excited for that. Also, as like a Pac-12 person, it's kind of exciting because I think that helps us maybe get part of the ESPN pie now, because they're going to need places for that, and your West Coast,
it's like by default.
By default.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Well,
woo, we did it.
I will say, like, the Pac-12 is like, we talked about time slots, like the late night games, as sports betting becomes more widespread, as football degeneracy rings true, like the late night games are very appealing. There's some really good still late night games. So I'm with you there. This is not good news at all. Sam Hartman out for quote unquote an extended period of time because of a non-football related issue.
Wake Forest quarterback.
Yeah, so it's interesting because we just talked about the ACC and Dave. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sad because I was fully sold on Wake Forest, and he was a big part of that. I'm crushed.
Well, and so the details are limited, obviously, for privacy concerns, but it does sound serious.
Yes.
Clausen said he underwent a medical procedure Tuesday night after seeking attention during a workout, which again, details sound really kind of scary. So first and foremost, I hope he's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And it sounds like he could potentially be back later in the year. But this sucks because first and foremost, this is the time of year where injuries, and this is obviously something a little bit different than somebody taking a wrong step and blowing out their knee. This sounds just a different level of that. So one part of this year, Paige, I really hate is you get it every day with NFL camps too, where guys just Mekhi Becton to Jets, dislocates his kneecap and then boom, knee injury, probably gone for the year. So, and the other part, like Wake was such a great story. We talked about it on the ACC. This kid is really good, really fun, makes that offense go. So it's obviously a huge loss for them, but I'm mostly bummed for him because it sounds like this is a bigger deal. And I just hope we see him back on the field because, again, they've been a wonderful story. He was superb last year. I just hate it. I hate every part of this because Wake has been really one of those teams of like, can they run it back? You were of the opinion they can. It's hard to disagree with that if he's healthy.
Yeah. I echo everything that you said. I really hope that he's okay and this isn't something that we don't see him play again. I really hope that he is back and we do get that. And it is always weird because we joke a lot on this podcast, but some of the stuff that comes up in this sport can be really heart-wrenching.
For sure.
So sending the best to him, of course.
We will pick up spirits, and we wish Sam well and hopefully a healthy return by questioning who in their right mind voted Texas number 1 in the coaches poll. Now, the coaches poll has forever been one of my favorite things because most of the coaches do not give one shit
they don't do
about this. Okay.
This is a peek behind the curtain. Coaches don't do their own coaches poll.
No.
There's an assistant that does their coaches poll.
All right.
Just so you guys know.
So I'm going to rattle off the top 10 because what the hell? Alabama, Ohio State. Alabama 54 first place votes. Ohio State 5. Georgia 6. Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, A&M, Utah, Oklahoma, Baylor. I don't have a huge issue with that. And then you have Texas at number 18 with a first place vote. So who did it? Give me your best. I have a conspiracy theory. It's got to be Saban, right? Just saying I'm going to beat the number 1 team in the country week 2 just for shits. Like, just come on, just have some fun.
No, because this is a can't confirm or deny, but I doubt he does it himself. And the assistant who does that is certainly not going to have that come back on him when they find out who did do that. I would guess.
That's fair.
Maybe Baylor.
Is it? I feel like whoever did this is trolling. Like,
it has to be in their conference. I don't think it'd be somebody out of their conference.
Like it's like NC State, like Dave Doran's like, you know what? Texas. Like,
it would be like Mike Leach. Actually, why are we not thinking this? It's definitely Lane Kiffin because he's going to say that win against Texas for Alabama is a quality win.
That is actually, it is Lane Kiffin is your odds on plus 145 favorite to be the. I want to do like a deep dive into this. Like, who did this? Who did like pointing at it? Like, who present them to me? And it's perfect because we are talking the Big 12 today, and I am struggling with Texas and level of backness. But I am not there. I'm not quite there. But so you think this? Do you think this was sincere? Or do you think it was trolling? Because I think this has to be trolling.
Semi-troll, and I think it was Lane. I for sure think it was Lane. Now I convinced myself.
I mean, I hope it was Lane. We should ask him.
We should definitely ask. Also funny when I was putting together the sheet today. I was thinking about the Big 12 and storylines, and full disclosure, I forgot that Texas and Oklahoma are still in the Big 12 because I'm just so used to now associating them with the SEC that it's just not even a thing for me. I was like, oh yeah, they are still in that conference, right?
Yes, I've had to catch myself a little bit too. It's going to get really weird over the next few years of who is in that conference and who is not.
It's going to be very strange to associate lots of programs with things, but a football program I did not think that we would be discussing on the podcast is Duke football. But there's a video of I want to say, not Thor, but maybe Thor-esque lineman.
Oh, yeah. He's 6'7", 330 pounds.
And his name is Chance Little, I think. Little? I don't know if we're pronouncing that right.
Yes,
but
we never do on this pod.
We never do. Sorry. And he sings opera and was singing opera for his teammates. And this video, if you've not seen it, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful blonde-haired Thor-esque man singing opera, and it's just chef's kiss. Almost. I mean, I will say, I was highly impressed with Aiden Hutchinson's Billie Jean. Yep. That was on Hard Knocks. That was very impressive. But I have to give it to the opera singer because opera is much harder than anything else.
If you can sing opera, you are in a different stratosphere of talent. No, this is amazing. First off, if you're 6'5" and over 300 pounds, you are liked by this podcast. We have or at least me. When
we
large men do amazing things.
Large men, we do.
Scoring touchdowns, singing opera, it does not matter. We love you and we appreciate you. It's actually pretty unbelievable though to watch this. Like, when someone sings and you expect it to sound different, like the words or just the tone and the pitch are not what you would expect. Like, there's a lot of that going on here. So I was, again, did not expect to talk Duke football on the Big 12 preview. But I was very, very impressed. This is why college football is great, by the way.
Yes.
For reasons like this.
Camp season. We love the content.
Oh, I love camp season. So, Big 12. Lots of content. I had to refresh myself a little bit on how this season ended. Mm-hmm. The Big 12 Conference Championship game was one of the best football games of the year. Honestly, just phenomenal football game. Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma State was this, I know it's an audio podcast for many. I'm holding my hands up. It's about a yard. Exceptional football game. One of the best football games of the year. Yeah, Dave Aranda doing his weird, ninja assassin, no smiling, no celebrating thing. So much going on there. Yes. But the Big 12 was exciting last year. I mean, it was. So where you got teams moving out, you got teams moving in, you got all sorts of stuff going on. Where are you when it comes to the Big 12?
It's kind of like chaos. Like, it's a lot. There's a lot going on. It's very chaotic energy. Like you said, there's guys leaving. There's guys coming in. It's almost like this is going to be a weird year because you're in the midst of all that. And it's coming. It's all set in stone. But yet there's still some weirdness about who else could possibly join the conference and all of those things. It's just very odd. It feels chaotic, which I feel like is going to be a testament to how the season goes for the Big 12. I feel like there are obviously clear favorites, but I feel like it's going to be a little chaotic, especially with Oklahoma. I feel like there's something there. It's either going to be really good or really bad. There's going to be no happy medium, and it's already off to a very strange start. We do have to discuss, I know we have to discuss weird, not so fun things on this podcast.
Yep.
One of the longtime coaches at Oklahoma resigned.
Who happened to have the last name Gundy?
Yes.
Yes. This is strange, and this is certainly at the bare minimum a distraction at the max.
Yes.
You have conflicting statements from Brent Venables and his daughter. This is.
Yes.
I think there's more to this. Nobody's saying what was actually said, but you can read between the lines what was said, and it was said on multiple occasions. So it's just bad. There's no other way to look at this other than yikes. It's not off to a great start.
What we do know of the incident is that there was a racial slur used multiple times in a video session, I think.
Yes.
Is the discussion, and it was just made players feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think it was brought to the attention of the staff afterwards, and no one's really sure exactly how it all went down because not everyone was in the room, but there needs to be accountability for, saying certain things.
For sure.
And if a player feels uncomfortable or players feel uncomfortable, this is the situation. It sounds like it was pretty quickly handled, and there was a discussion, he's gonna resign. And that was sort of how this all got out. It wasn't like, hey, this happened, we're figuring it out internally. It was like, we already discussed it internally, he's resigning. But then there was the details of what exactly happened and how this all went down are very murky. And like you said, I think the coach that resigned, his daughter had tweeted something and then deleted it. It's a very weird situation. But like you said, it's a distraction. This kind of stuff we saw last year with I think it was last year with Florida State. Might have been the year before. No, it was last year.
Yeah, it was.
Where you have a new guy coming in, everything is, you're trying to get a culture established. You're trying to kind of set boundaries, rules, guidelines. And this kind of stuff makes that difficult because the big thing is trust with these, especially with young men. Yeah. You need them to trust you and really know that you have their back. And when you're trying to establish that and you have stuff like this happen, it can sometimes be a little difficult to, focus on the stuff that you really need to be focused on, because this definitely takes the precedent over that for sure.
For a guy that's been with the program a really long time, kind of one of the fixtures of the program too.
Yes.
I do think, in terms of just kind of turning it forward to football stuff, this is going to look very different in some ways, this team, and very similar in others. And what I mean by that, Venables obviously defensively, I'm really interested to see stylistically what kind of pace they operate with. And what I mean by that, Venables, of course, for years we've seen him on the sideline. He's got his own get back coach with the yellow hat, and he's a lunatic. Some have said that the reason he didn't get a head coaching job is because he's just a madman, but he's been one of the best defensive minds in the sport. The part that's actually most interesting to me, though, Paige, is Jeff Lebby, their OC. Ole Miss, UCF, teams that move fast, teams that are disruptive, obviously connection with Gabriel as well. I think is really interesting, but those teams don't normally have great defenses if they're going to move as fast as he has in the past. Yeah. Gabriel had some incredible moments when he was in this chaotic offense of, like the hypo experience of just go, 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 go. So I'm very curious to see just the balance of that with Oklahoma. It's one of the toughest teams I have figuring out right now, truthfully, because they should be really good. I like Gabriel a lot. Raw deal for him getting hurt last year, broke his collarbone on that freak tackle at the end of the game. I see no reason why they shouldn't compete for that conference again, honestly.
Yeah, and I think the discussion always in the Big 12 is, if you have defense in that conference, you can be successful. I think we saw it first with TCU and then later with Baylor. Like, if you can stop Big 12 offenses, then you're able to be pretty successful in that conference, just because it's known for a certain style of play and all those things across the board, really. And to your point, like, this could really change this team and move them forward, in a way that, like, okay, we already sort of expected from Lincoln Riley, but I don't know that the expectation is, at least not from Oklahoma fans, I'm sure it is, expectation is playoff and to win a playoff game. I don't think that that's the expectation for nationally everybody looking at Oklahoma. It's like, okay, can they transition into keeping the pace a little bit where they were, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a playoff team.
They've got some good players. They had a lot of transfers, but they still kept a lot of really good players, a lot of experience on offense. And I think really the question is going to be, what does Gabriel look like in this new team? But again, I think back to the original point, and we'll talk about the other teams. This conference is really hard for me to handicap. Just full disclosure, and let's talk Texas back ? Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. That's what I put in the doc. I want to believe in Texas. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like how it is kind of how I feel about USC. Texas is doing a lot of really good things, recruiting, developing, you name it. Of course, Bijan Robinson is as good as it gets at the position. We're a huge fan of it. And rich as hell. He's got like 28,000.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, Lamborghini. I'm so happy for that kid. What a great kid. And I want him to do well. Yes, for sure. So what do we do with Texas? Like, how do we, you play Alabama early. You've got, you lost to goddamn Kansas last year.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we do with that?
Betting wise, it's going to be a lot like I mentioned with Oregon, where they're going to play a really good team really early. They're going to lose it, and people are going to be like, oh no, I'm not touching this. They're not back. They're not anything. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, because I think it can't get any worse than losing to Kansas, right? So I
they're,
really think,
by the way, their win total, to your point, is 8.5. 8.5 over plus 100 minus under 8.5 minus 120. So yeah, basically flipping your season is what people are saying is the expectation.
Yes. So I think they'll be good. I think it'll be the start of the comeback, but I really hope that I don't expect them to win the Big 12, to be honest.
I think they, well,
you think they do?
Well, how good is Quinn Ewers going to be? Like that's because Xavier Worthy, the transfer they got from, I believe, Wyoming, their wide receivers are great. They've got Bijan. They've recruited at offensive line really well. Obviously, they're going to be young there. I know the defense is going to be struggling, but like you've got Ewers' recruiting ranking, he was like the number one quarterback like ever. Like so what do you have there? Like that's the biggest question for me is he played with Ohio State, so he's not necessarily a true freshman. Spring game, I'm not going to associate too much results with the spring game, but like he clearly is really talented and seems like he's built for some kind of like the pressure that's going to come with. So so much of it hinges on his performance, but he's not going at it alone. But like USC, like defensively, they were kind of a mess and they have to figure things out. There's a lot of questions, but if it comes together, it could be pretty good.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have to go right for it to be good for them. I don't know that they have the consistency yet. They haven't proven that. It's definitely a roller coaster. Because it also comes down to coaching as well. Like Sark hasn't been perfect. So you hope that he learns from the things and mistakes that he's made. And uses the players that he has to the best of their ability. But I mean, I think they'll be solid in the conversation. I don't know that they're winning the conference this year yet.
So Texas, by the way, you've got ULM, then you have Alabama, which is going to be awesome. UTSA is a little spunky team, and then at Texas Tech, a team I like, West Virginia, and then Oklahoma. That's not easy. Like there's some weird games in there that things could potentially spin sideways. Now last year they spun really sideways. So I suppose now that we've talked for like 15 minutes about the conference, we should talk about the conference champion, which is Baylor.
Yes.
You and I both love the Dave Aranda style. I mean, it's Zen-like. It's so different than anything we have in the sport, which is aggressive, in your face, eating pieces of glass on the sideline. This is a dude that's just very comfortable in his style and his himself, and it's translated. I can't think of a football team that historically, stylistically, has done this big of a 180 this quickly. Because you had Art Briles, don't want to go into that, but you had them like they were a great offensive team, and that was their reputation, right? We're going to be a great offensive team. We're going to score 1 billion points. He comes in, he's developing defensive players like into draft picks, high draft picks. And they were tough. Like they just got good that quickly, had a really crappy COVID shortened year, and then boom, they explode. Like it's actually amazing the job that he's done. So where are we on Baylor? Because they've lost a lot defensively, and yet they should still be pretty good again.
Yeah, I think they win the conference again. Just because, I mean, that's a safe bet because of sort of the style you're talking about and the consistency. There's no distractions. They've done this before. Like there's a lot of very like reliable things you can bet on here, as opposed to like an Oklahoma situation or a Texas situation. Texas should be in this boat now, but they aren't yet. I think this year they could establish that. But if I'm a betting woman, which I am, I would lean towards them repeating as champions.
I am absolutely. I love that they're playing at BYU week 2. It's like a really sneaky, great week 2 game. They play at Texas. They play at Oklahoma. They play at Texas Tech. They play Oklahoma State, obviously. I just think there's been so much change in the conference now. Like, not that Aranda's been around very long, but you kind of know what you're getting. Like that style. I mean, I'm just enamored with the job that he's done. There is something to be said on, being able to bet on that. Now, their win total, by the way, is over 7.5 wins, but there's a caveat. You hear 8.5 for Texas, 7.5. The juice on that is minus 150 for the over. So people obviously are betting the over. That BYU game becomes very interesting for that because you have,
that point.
That's pretty. You play at Iowa State, you play at West Virginia. Those are tough places to play. Those are not easy games for a team that's actually going to have to manage success now. But I'm kind of with you. I love what they've done. It's just offensively, can they get a little bit more now?
I
right?
was just going to say, the big thing you're betting on with Baylor is that defensively they're going to be good. And like I said, like the Big 12 is known for offense. And if you can stop those offenses and be consistent at doing that, doesn't necessarily mean you don't need a good offense. It just means that you can be a little lackluster in that area. What's the saying? Defense wins championships. I think that it's just like a safer bet to go with that based on everything else in everybody's arsenal. But if offensively they're atrocious, then yeah, it's going to be hard, and they could lose some of those closer games that they need to win.
I thought it was very interesting too, and then we'll move to a different team that Aranda named a starter in the spring, which was Blake Shapen. They had Jerry Bohinen, and he was in the transfer portal after that. You don't normally do this, like where you name a starter in the spring.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a little.
Yeah, and so it felt a little out of, well, he does everything his own way. It's also pretty cool, by the way, if you're a backup in Bohinen who's played a lot and has actually had some success, that he could transfer, which felt like why they did that. So I'm with you. They've got a great chance. So 7.5, and I'll look at the conference championship odds here too. Hold on. God, I love betting on football. Whew. Can we do a little bit more behind the curtain? So you and I, before this, got off a call, which was strictly about betting.
Yes.
On college football. I mean, is there anything better than betting on college football? I mean,
is there anything better than betting on sports? I also, just to your point about like how we're so used to seeing like football guys be football guys. I watched Hard Knocks, the first episode of Hard Knocks last night, and I've been watching the like All or Nothing documentary on Arsenal, the soccer team.
Yes.
And it's just so funny to like see like Dan Campbell's the extreme, obviously, of like a football guy, but like to see like an American football coach and then like a soccer manager. It's just the like demeanor, how they talk to their teams, and things they say are just so different and culturally different that it just kind of it's interesting to have a guy like Dave Aranda who's like so zen and chill. It's probably not to the extreme of emotion and sensitivity that we get in soccer, but I think it's funny to see those like two extremes of like American football and then like soccer and what the coaching is like.
Yeah, he is a unicorn in every sense, too, because it's not, I mean, if you took him and Campbell side by side, I don't know if I could think of actually two opposite humans in the profession. And I mean that in a good way. It's good. It's different
but most people are more like, if you look at college football coaches as a whole, most of them are like Dan Campbell.
Oh,
Not to the extreme, but they're leaning more towards him than the Aranda style of things.
So the other team that we want to talk about, I'm excited to talk about, is Oklahoma State. One of my favorite cashes of last year was in the bowl game against Notre Dame. They were down 28-3. They came back and won that game. It was a wonderful occasion. Many beers were had. And let's see, how can I put this delicately? Mike Gundy is a polarizing football person now within the confines of CFB. He's no longer the I'm a man, I'm 40. Maybe he is to some people. He's got political opinions and other opinions in the way that he's expressed himself. Every time I've talked to him, I've mentioned this, I've really enjoyed it. He seems just like a guy that loves his farm, and he's always presented himself in a way that he's just a really interesting guy.
Yes.
However, all the other Mike Gundy-isms, whether it's the football stuff or the t-shirts he wears, have clouded the fact that he's a really good football coach.
Yes.
Like, the guy delivers. He's had a weird contract. He's had friction with T-Boone. Like, it's been a full-on, Mike Gundy experience type of thing. So, with that, Oklahoma State, a couple of feet from making the playoff, lose Jim Knowles to Ohio State, who was so good for them as defensive coordinator. And they were one of the best defenses. I think the Notre Dame performance kind of jumbled some of the stats, but they were a top 5 defense pretty much all year long. I like this team. I'm going to kind of get ahead of myself a little bit on some of my betting tidbits. I really like this team. Where are you on Oklahoma State?
I think this is the perfect year for them to establish that they're the dominant force in the conference, because you have Texas and Oklahoma leaving. And Oklahoma State has been a thorn in everybody's side in that conference for a while. I really think that they have a solid team, but I feel like Oklahoma State always loses a game they should win, sort of Pac-12-esque, and is good, but just has never been that top dog. But this is the year I feel like they can flex their muscles. And to your point, I do think that he is an excellent head football coach, but yeah, some of that stuff gets distracting. So people are looking at him.
I think Spencer Sanders, who in moments has been unbelievable. Like when he got hot against Notre Dame, it was like, oh my God, this is like one of the best quarterbacks in the sport. That's, if you're going to bet on Oklahoma State this year, which I am, that's who you're going to bet on. Yeah, that's who you're going to bet on because he's been there for like 19 years. They lost some defensively. It's a really experienced group, though. A lot of seniors, a lot of juniors. I just think they're tough. I think they're a really tough team. I was just, you look at the schedule last year. You look at their performance. They had 2 losses. They lost at Iowa State. I bet Iowa State, by the way. No big deal. 24-21. It was a great game. And they lost to Baylor 21-16 in an epic. That's it. Beat up Kansas State. Beat Boise State. I remember a lot of people beat Oklahoma. It was a really game team. So, yes, if this is going to come true, I think they got to make a lot of plays. Obviously, they've got new faces on offense and, new faces on defense. But I like this team quite a bit. So this is the problem, though. Yes, this is the problem, though, because you could make a very compelling case. We'll talk about the odds in a sec for a lot of these teams. So there's not a lot differentiating them. But the team that we need to talk about, Kansas football. Yes. Now, you have not seen this, I assume. What do you believe that Kansas's win total is for the 2022 football season?
1.5?
2.5.
Okay.
So, we can't just fully completely shit on Kansas. Well, go ahead if you want to. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to go like. But when you Google Kansas football, by the way, and I did this earlier, you got to get through a lot of basketball to get to the football stuff. Like it's not great. It's not a great site. Champs. So they play Tennessee Tech, the Golden Eagles, in week 1. That's a dub. Okay, they play West Virginia week 2. No, Houston. No. Oh, Duke. Maybe. Iowa State.
Talk about really funny that Duke and Kansas. I didn't know that Duke and Kansas were playing each other in football.
Yes. All right. Can I say a nice thing?
The basketball bowl. What? Oh, I'm betting on that game. That's gonna be fun.
That is like the shit football game of the week. So I like Lance Leopold, their coach. I think is actually, they were so much more competitive last year, right? Can we say some nice things about Kansas? Mm-hmm. I mean, they beat Texas, right? Right. Are we not going to say nice things about Kansas?
We can say nice things. I just don't think the nice things continue.
Well, here's what I'm going to say.
Kansas football fans don't continue. For basketball fans, they will.
So it got rough during the middle of the year. Real bad. They actually, remember when they were beating Oklahoma? Like, that was unbelievable. Yes. And then the end of the year, they beat Kansas 57-56 in overtime, which is just amazing. At Texas. They beat Texas. They lost to TCU, 31-28 at TCU, and they lost to West Virginia 34-28. Now, 2 wins they had last year. I'm not going to say Kansas is back, but this guy is a really good coach. I like the over for Kansas this year. I really like I like the over. So, what is the juice on this 2.5?
Yeah.
Minus 135 over. Everyone's pounding Kansas. It's the best bet of the year.
Yeah, I'm taking the under.
All right. I'm going to be like, that's free money. So let's make a bet where I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. Well, Oklahoma State to win the conference is plus 550. So some odds. Oklahoma's plus 200. Texas is plus 280. Find that pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State plus 550, Baylor plus 650. Down the ways we go, TCU plus 1,200. Kansas State is kind of interesting at plus 1,200. Our guy Deuce, our favorite, one of our favorite tiny running backs. We talked about large linemen. We also like the smaller backs. Deuce is going to be great for them. Bowling ball running backs. And then Kansas is plus, 250 to 1, essentially, if you're into that sort of thing. So I like Oklahoma State to win the conference. Where do you go with your bet?
Where goes you?
Yeah.
College football betting, Yoda.
I mean, do I do the reveal now? All right. This is a neon bear hug. It is only 7% alcohol. Just because I can't speak doesn't mean I'm intoxicated. I want that very important disclaimer on the pod.
Right.
There are some instances where that may not be factually true.
Where I goes with the Big 12 conference.
God damn it.
Is Baylor.
Okay.
Give me Baylor.
I don't hate that.
You said it was what was
plus 650.
Yeah,
plus 650. That's good value, actually. Honestly, that's good value. So alcohol. I remembered. I looked. So I'll go first.
Yes, because I need to think on this. I didn't think about it. I will have an answer.
This is my moonshine conference. This is the conference that, is it the best drink you've ever had? God, no. Oh, God, no. I'm going to go somewhere else for elite drinks. But if I want to have a weird ass night and I don't know exactly what's going to happen, I'm going to go right to essentially grain alcohol and I'm going to drink that. I can light it on fire. I can do a lot of things with this, which is fitting with, of course, the West Virginia ties of couch burning. I really like this conference in ways that I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Is it going to be poor decisions that are made? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some very poor decisions made in this conference. I think there already has been. So, and that said, I like it even more. So Moonshine is my Big 12 comparison, which is, of course, the extreme of the extreme when it comes to alcohol.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a margarita because tequila is, like I mentioned before, I feel like the Big 12 is very chaotic energy. Like if I had to give it this feels like chaotic energy, it would be the Big 12. And I feel like margaritas are chaotic energy. Like you can go out to have margaritas with your friends and you end up going to another place and having more drinks because tequila will do that to you. So it could be a happy hour margaritas with the girls, but you end up out dancing and losing your earring and not knowing where your phone is the next day. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm going to go with a margarita for the Big 12.
I want a margarita now, honestly. I haven't had a good margarita in a while.
Since the incident of
the great can incident of 2021. Yes, margarita in a can, a little bit different for me. It hit home a little bit faster. So you will be very proud of me. I did watch the first episode of
Drive to Survive.
Yes, I liked it a lot. I'm in. I'm not fully invested emotionally yet, but I did watch. I am in awe of just the filming of this and the way it was captured. I kept thinking, how many cameras did it take? It's just incredible when you look at the spectacle, not just of the races, but the spectacle of the doc, if that makes sense. It's like, I'm just in awe of what it would take to produce something like that. It took me, honestly, like the full episode just to get past, like, oh my God, how would I ever start something like this?
Yes.
So I have started it and I am liking it very much.
We decided after I think our last episode that at the end of each podcast, we're going to have a new segment that is random stuff that we would like to talk about. Because, shocker to everybody, we like to talk about things other than college football.
Yes.
But we're going to give it a space at the end of each episode. So if you're here just for college football content, stick around for the chaotic energy at the end of this. The Big 12 energy at the end of this. Yes. And we'll talk about things that we like Formula One, golf, baseball, random bets that we're making. I also started watching the Arsenal documentary, or docuseries, like I mentioned. And I'm picking a Premier League team. I'm in the process of deciding which one. I believe I'm going to go with Arsenal, which apparently is like a really terrible choice in terms of like emotional level, but like I'm already an A's fan. I already root for Ferrari in F1, and if you know anything about F1, you know that that's also can be very difficult at times. I'm curious to see who you like in the documentary. Like, we're definitely gonna recap this as you go. Do you have any favorite drivers as of now, or people?
No, it was too early. It was so much just learning the ins and outs in the team.
Yes.
And teams, excuse me, and just like
learning the sport too.
I'm trying to hold on. Yes, learning the sport, because I'll be honest, I know very little about just motorsports as a whole. So yeah. I will give an updated bulletin board of like my who is leading of my fandom. Not that it's very important in that sport for anyone. They'll care, I'm sure, immensely who I'm going to root for. But
they do. I care. I personally care.
But I like it. I mean, again, it's one of the best just pieces of media like ever put together. You can just tell by watching one episode.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I mean I briefly talked about this last week that watching documentaries and sort of learning about sports sort of reinvigorates your love of sports when you work
for sure
and focus on one sport so often. Kind of diving in and being like a newbie to some sports is really exciting and really fun. And I remember, like, I didn't grow up watching college football. Like, I did here and there occasionally, but I was not like an Alabama fan for life and like growing up going to games, all that. I grew up on the West Coast. It's not as big as it is in the South and in Big Ten territory. So I really fell in love with the sport working it, and I think now I'm like falling in love with like other sports based on, and like the gateway to get anyone really into these sports and to learn about it and to like get a lot of knowledge on it are the documentaries of like behind the scenes stuff and how it all operates and how it works. But I find it all very fascinating, but I think it's interesting because there's such a conversation amongst Formula One fans. There's a lot of like shade to people who have discovered the sport because of Drive to Survive, because it's like, oh, it's so dramatized, oh, it's so this, and people are addicted to the drama, not the driving, all of this. It's like, yeah, maybe that's the reason people find it, but like the obsession, like I didn't care about cars at all. And now, like, I find myself, like, looking to see what kind of car. Like, if I see a cool car on the road, I'm like, what car is that? Is that like, you know what I mean? Like, I saw a McLaren the other day, and you would have thought it was, like, the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life because I was so excited. So it's, like, it does get you into that. But it also just, this is my rant for the day, is, like, it just bothers me that people, like, almost are trying to, like, gatekeep their sport. Like, it's, like, basically saying that, like, your wife's first boyfriend is, like, more of a fan and loves her more because he met her first and dated her first, as opposed to the person that, like, came into it later into her life. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's just such a weird concept that people are like that. I've been a fan since birth. Like, people hate the bandwagon.
UFC, like, as I got into UFC fans, because UFC thrived during COVID, went through the same thing.
Really?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's so wild to me that happens in sports specifically, because we don't do it in anything else really in life. It's like, we just become like, I've been a sports fan for this long, and I've been around, and that makes me a better fan than you, and because you like it, I'm like... For sure. Can we all just agree that, like, we love sports, and, like, however you find it, however you are a fan of it, like, it's just awesome that we have that?
Can I, real quick, talk about my... so you know, my sports teams are the new...
oh, yes.
Well, Jesus Christ. It's Iowa, of course. It's the Jets, and it's the New York Mets. Mm-hmm. The Mets actually might be good.
Right.
I'm saying that by the time someone listens to this, they'll have, like, done something horrible. And that's my struggle, Paige. I don't know how to take success as a fan because my teams have embarrassed me my entire life. I'm enjoying this Mets season more than I've enjoyed any sports season. They're fun. They're well coached. They've got really good players. The owner is like all the ingredients are here. Mm-hmm. But I know because it's sports and it's the Mets and it's me, I'm probably going to get my heart broken.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to understand how much, like, to be confident, which I can't be. I'm struggling with this, and I'm not going to know until the end. They're going to make the playoffs. They'll probably win the division, although the Braves are really good. Phillies are playing great. So this is it. In the back of my mind, I can't embrace them as being good because I'm a loser. I am a loser at my core. So I'm really struggling with how to appreciate the Mets. I'm a loser.
I'm not saying yes to you being a loser. I'm saying yes, I understand the
Fair.
situation that you're in. Because I believe you're a winner, Kramer.
Thank you so much.
A gambling winner.
That's about it. Sometimes. Yeah. We'll see.
Depends.
It's fun. No, but I've really enjoyed that. And it will be fun throughout the football season, even to track as we get into September and even into the postseason. I want a postseason run. It's been a while. So, okay, with that, week 0, we have one more podcast that we have zero, that there will be no football games. We're going to talk Big Ten. Very excited about that. But there will be no games. We have one more, and then it's the season. How did it
happen?
So Big Ten is going to be a very interesting alcohol take. That's going to be a challenge.
Ooh.
I'm going to have to think about that one.
Me too.
But week 0 approaches, and I couldn't be more excited. So before we head out of here, any parting shots?
No, but if anyone wants us to talk about, if they have things they want us to talk about that can fit in our ending segment here of just
random
things that we want to discuss, if you want us to discuss it, let us know. Sliding
I'm
Kramer's
all for it.
DMs.
Slide it, please. Yeah, they're open. Which, oh, by the way, I'm just looking at this. So
I don't know what made you. I love how sliding in DMs was what got you.
All right.
Wait.
I got to correct myself there. Different, but so I have my locks of the week for the Heisman,
yes.
And Bleacher Report just posted it like on the main college football account, and this is where the mentions start to get great. Like they get rough out there. The week-to-week mentions of people assessing my gambling picks. You know this, Paige. I'm a contrarian, so a lot of my picks look incredibly dumb. Some of them are very dumb, but a lot of them are like, a team catching points at home against a ranked team that has been bad.
Yeah.
So normally the mentions right now, the replies seem tame. People are still coming out of their off-season slumber. As we get a little deeper into this, it's not going to be tame. So I've got to get back into accepting user feedback quickly. So
gotta get that thick skin. That's why we do what we do.
It's why we do what we do. With that, on to the Big Ten. We will talk to you guys next week.